Hello, everyone. This is the Kim Jacobs Show. Welcome to the Kim Jacobs Show. Hello over there, Belinda. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Kim?
I'm doing great. I know you're traveling, so we'll hear
Yes,
some people in the background, but
I
I'm
know.
so glad to have you on this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. We're gonna have
Thank
a
you.
great time. Great time.
Thank you.
So
I am
listen,
so honored.
everyone, when you're virtual, it's all kinds of things happening. So keep that in mind that we are virtual doing the Kim Jacobs Show, which is, I believe, a good new trend to set here. That people
Yeah.
that are my guests, no matter where they are, how busy their lives are,
Uh-huh.
can come in and be a part of the Kim Jacobs Show. So
Exactly.
you know the routine. Go ahead and share this broadcast with your friends. Belinda, this is an opportunity for you as well from maybe a different device. If
Hmm.
we're friends on Facebook, just go
Yes.
right to my Facebook page and share it over to your friends at this time as well.
Yes.
That gives people a chance to be able to join in on today's discussion.
Exactly.
So while you're doing that, I'll just give some housekeeping announcements.
Hmm.
Everyone, you know the routine when you come into the Kim Jacobs Show. Make sure you type a comment. Let me know you're here, that you've walked into the studio audience and you are now seated and ready to participate in today's show. As you decide to comment, those are the comments that I'll pop into today's broadcast. Gives you an opportunity to ask questions for my guests that's here today. It also gives you a chance to share some encouraging words as well as some of the points that maybe are your takeaway points from today's broadcast. So make sure that you comment. That's whether you're on Facebook. This is airing on Facebook, it's airing on YouTube, on Twitch, on Periscope. It's also airing on iHeartRadio, iTunes, SoundCloud, Deezer, you name it. It's going to be all over the place in all different formats. So I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to participate no matter what format you're looking at. So today, my special guest has over 15 years that she's been with WGIV Radio. That's a long time to be with a radio station. So
Oh, no,
she,
no, no. I was with the radio station for a couple of years, but I've been in sales and management for 15 years.
oh, okay, okay. I
Yes.
was like, oh, that's a long time. Okay, so
Oh,
you were,
I don't think nobody lasts that long in radio unless they own it.
I was like, okay, no, all right.
No.
So, so she's been with WGIV for a few years, but then she was with upper management and
Mhm.
sales and marketing with in Fortune 500
Beauty
cosmetic
companies.
companies. That's what.
Yes.
Let me just go back and make sure, because this is live, so gotta
Okay.
do it.
Right.
Okay. So Linda Kendall is my guest today,
Mhm.
and she has spent time working in the radio industry with WGIV, done an excellent job, and so many people have followed her in that regard. But then
Mhm.
she's also spent the bulk of her career, 15 years to be exact, in
Mhm.
sales and upper management positions.
Mhm.
She's managed teams of over about 700 people or so.
Yes.
And these companies have ranged from Estee Lauder, all kinds of different companies
Mhm.
that are Fortune 500 cosmetic companies. So that's her specialty. But
Yes.
along this journey, she has learned some significant life lessons from her management experience.
Mhm.
And that's what she's going to be talking to us today about here on the Kim
Mhm.
Jacobs Show.
Exactly.
So welcome, Belinda.
Thank you so much, Kim. I think we met back in 2006, 7 when you started out, and I was at WGIV,
Hmm.
and we was doing interviews, and I was so excited about interviewing some big pastors and Jesse Jackson, and I always looked up to you. I just thought you was the coolest person in the world. So I remember you from back then.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm really glad to have you on today. And you don't know, but I followed you quite a bit. And all of your articles and different things that I see out, it's so inspiring.
Thank
It's
you.
edifying. It's
Hmm.
encouraging. It's so
Hmm.
it's intriguing. So I'm always like you say 1 minute read or 2 minute read. I'm like click
Yeah.
click 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 click
I
click.
know, right?
'Cause I'm like this is I don't even know these some of these things that you are
Hmm.
even pushing out to the community. And
Right.
I'm learning always from you.
Thank you so much. Someone asked me one time, how did you get 450,000 friends on Facebook? How did you get, I think, 32,000 on LinkedIn? And I have probably 4,000. They can't befriend me because LinkedIn has a cutoff. And I said, you always got to post something positive. I'm constantly looking for positive stories, stories to bring awareness. And when you start doing that, that's when the people start, let me go to her page. I think one article I had after 2 months, had over 1 million views.
Yeah.
And that really made me, say, hey, you've got a platform here and you need to use it right.
Good.
So it's always positive stuff.
Well, I know you've been off the scene for a few years. So you kind of find out what's been going on in your life, and
Well,
it's
well,
your
praise the
comeback.
Lord. Well, praise the Lord, sister. I had to, I had to go to school of life. I came off the radar when I was laid off from my last job. I went to stay with my mother because my daughter's tuition at Salem's College was 42,000. My son's tuition at Greensboro College was about 40,000. So I couldn't have a life of my own. I had to come off the radar, and I tell people now I had to go to school to relearn some things,
Right.
to for God to get some things out of me and in me. And now I feel like I've graduated.
Oh.
So I'm back on the scene again. I had to learn some more stuff, but I've graduated now.
Well, wow. Well, I'm so glad that you're back on the scene, and I'm sure everybody
Thank you.
watching is as well. Did you get a chance to share it with your friends on Facebook?
Yes, yes. They're
Okay.
all watching, and I've got LinkedIn, we've got over 300 watching.
Oh, cool. Cool. Anyway,
Yes,
I'm so glad that all of you are watching, all of Belinda's friends that are
yes.
watching. And I'm glad that my friends are watching as well from the Kim Jacobs Show. And let me also just put in the comment section, and you'll grab it out of the private chat link if you want and
Okay.
share it. But it's the link if people want to be pulled into today's broadcast. I
Hmm.
give people in the audience a chance to come into the studio and actually connect with you face to face during our flash round. And you all
Okay.
already know this routine as a member of the studio audience of Kim Jacobs Show. But here you go.
Exactly.
If you decide you would like to come in and ask my guest a direct question, feel free
Hmm.
to use that link. I'll bring you in if you just
Hmm.
want to send a shout out to her as well. And that link has been posted as well for you. I'll put it up here.
Okay.
Now, so
Okay.
what I want to know, Belinda, is right. Well, first of all, you traveling. So what's going on? Tell us about that too.
So I am working on a project. I talked to my attorney before I came on, Scott Forbes. He is such a good guy. He's a little crazy, but we grew up together, so I know he's crazy. Working on a project to create a bigger footprint in the media industry. I
Okay.
really can't go into a lot of details about it because there's a lot of licensing and some
Right.
things
Right.
with it.
Mhm.
But I want to create a bigger footprint in the media to um, how can I say this? I think it's our time to take back the media. So that's why I'm traveling. We're getting some stuff done. I can't wait to get back to Charlotte, but getting some stuff done, and I think that everybody's going to be impressed when it's finally done. When
Oh,
it's finally
I'm
done.
sure we're going to be impressed. Based on everything you already pump out to the
Yeah.
community, it's going to be very impressive. So on your journey, you say you've had some times where you've had to take off and get
Mhm.
back and learn some life lessons. What are some of those life lessons that you've learned? And it seems like you've had to learn them somewhat the hard way, is what I'm kind of
The
seeing.
hard way.
Yeah. So
I
tell
think the biggest life lesson and the secret to success is forgiveness. And where you think you got that forgiveness thing down to a science, God will bring something bigger and stronger to test forgiveness. And I had to learn Mark 11:23 and 24. Whatsoever you desire when you pray, believe that you'll receive it. But if
Mhm.
you have an ought against your brother, don't expect anything. So I had to take all the offense, all the things that was done wrong, and even things I caused, and put it in this pocket. And then I had to think, if something happened to one of my kids today, and I dropped to my knees and I pray to God, help me save them, don't let them die. I don't want God whispering in my ear saying, I'm a man of my word and I can do that, but you never forgave this person.
Oh boy.
And so what they done then becomes very, very small. So the next level of the test, I forgive them, they forgive me, but then they're still going on. Now God said, now how are you going to react? What are you going to do? Are you going to take vengeance in your own hand? And that's what the biggest lesson I've learned is that, okay, I take my hands off of it. I'll let God be the judge. That was the hardest thing. And I thought I had forgiveness down to a science.
Wow.
I did not. I did not. But I've learned that you have to forgive to receive from God. And when your children are on the line, your career, things that I'm doing here today is on the line. What they've done and said is very small. And that's where you have to get.
That's so interesting to say that because after my son passed away, when Gabriel passed away,
I remember that.
I realized that there is just nothing, nothing that somebody,
Mm,
I don't even, you know what, I hate to say certain things because every time I say certain things, God will test me on those things and it'd be like,
mhm,
no, I said this when I
mhm.
remember specifically April 8th saying that I said in a Bible study that there is nothing that would ever make me contemplate suicide.
Mhm.
That's what I said.
Okay,
And
got something for you.
I said that in
Mhm,
Bible study, but it's because I genuinely felt that. I wasn't
mhm,
saying that to shun how anybody else felt. I just said
mhm,
that because that's what I felt in my spirit, that
mhm,
could not imagine that I would ever get rid of my life, you know? And
mhm,
if
mhm.
anybody tells you differently, know that you need to investigate it. It's not true. But then
Right. It's okay. When it
on
happened, that's when it came.
on April, well, I'm gonna move on from that. But on the next day, on
Mhm,
April 9th, that's when my son
mhm,
passed away. And
mhm, mhm.
I knew then, right when he was passing, that this is the reason why people would consider taking their lives.
That's right. That's right.
So
That's right.
the compassion associated with now understanding why a
Mhm,
person would contemplate suicide became
mhm,
real to me. Even though
mhm.
at this point I won't take my life, so that's not I'm
Right.
not gonna take my life, but the
Right.
compassion that I
Uh-huh.
have for people pertaining to why they feel like they have a hopeless situation
Mhm.
with circumstances is something that I can understand now. I can resonate with. I can speak to their
Mhm.
situation better
Mhm.
because of what I've experienced.
But see, you have to understand Psalms 139. He said, I know your thoughts before they come to you. I know the day that you will be born and the day that you're dying.
Right.
There's nothing that you could have done to stop it. Now, when you said understanding, I remember my father was like the superintendent, the deacon of the church, and people would come to him all the time with crazy stuff. And I used to tell my daddy, I said, I just don't understand why Sister So and so keeps doing this. And I don't understand why Deacon So and so keeps doing this. And he said, never allow God to put you in a position to have a better understanding. So now, with that happening to you, you are such a powerful voice to mothers that have lost their children. It was all part of your training. It was
Mhm.
all, I laugh sometimes when I read, I think it's Psalms. I think David wrote most of Psalm running from Saul. That's why some verses are like, Lord, I love you. And then other verses like, Lord, why did you forsake me? You were in training
Right.
your whole life. All the things he went through, David went through, prepared him to be one of the best kings that ever lived because he had to learn to deal with people at every level. So you were created to be that voice.
Right.
And that's why the Bible says, I think it goes that wisdom and knowledge come with great pain and sadness.
Mhm.
The wisdom you gain from that, the knowledge that you gain from that, it came with great sadness.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh
you're still here.
yeah. But I get the opportunity now. I get so many phone calls and so
See?
many prayer requests, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't even I don't like go around saying, hey, ooh,
Uh-huh.
contact me. It's
Mm-mm.
actually something I just really am not interested in being known for.
Right.
But I appreciate the opportunity if I can help somebody else on their journey and make life
Exactly.
just a little bit easier and smoother for them because there's no way, no words that can ever be shared that can
Right.
help a person that's dealing with this at that moment. Because it's like
It's
nothing
a
that said matters, you know?
right. And I mean, I have seen things like this break up marriages
Oh
because
yeah,
it's too much. But
right.
look how strong you are. You're still standing. You're still married. You're still making everything work. I read a quote one day. It said, "God puts no more on you than you can bear,"
I believe
and
that.
and then the girl said, "I must be a boss then, because I'm
I'm a boss
telling
mama.
you, you a boss. You are a
If
boss.
you don't
That's
put more on you than you can bear, then okay.
yeah,
But I'm doing my
you a boss.
thing.
You a boss. You are definitely a boss."
So, what made me start talking about was the fact that you said about forgiveness and
Hmm.
how important it is to forgive. But
Hmm.
sometimes people don't know where to start with forgiveness. And it sounds like you can bring that. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Thank you so much. My daughter went and got me a cloth.
Oh, that's her mommy.
So you don't know. Some people don't ask for forgiveness, but based on being a spiritual human being, that
Mhm.
you need to forgive regardless of whether
Right.
you ask for forgiveness or not, and just
Right.
go ahead and extend that courtesy of you're forgiven.
Right.
But when people that are watching today's episode may want to know, well, how do you just forgive and then just move on,
Hmm.
even if they've never accepted your forgiveness
Hmm.
or embraced your forgiveness or even know that you've forgiven them?
So it goes back to Mark 11, 23 and 24. Whatsoever you desire when you pray, believe that you'll receive it. But if you have an ought against your brother, don't expect anything from God. The devil knows that. So what he does, he will use someone else, because the Bible clearly says we're not fighting against flesh and blood.
Right.
We're fighting against high principalities. So he knows if he can get you to focus on that individual,
Hmm.
then the resentment and the unforgiveness goes towards that individual. When really it was the devil working through that individual. Does that make sense?
Oh
He
yeah.
wants you to focus on Bobby Lee and what Bobby Lee did or your ex-husband did, but it was all the time it was the devil, because he wants to get you in a position where you can't receive.
I'm
So
trying
that's how you
to know
start.
what scripture that is. Uh,
Mark 11:23, or we
Against.
fight not against flesh and blood.
Yeah. Yeah, here I'm trying to figure this out right here. If your brother says, you go and tell them your fault between that's Matt. I see it in Matthew 15.
Ephesians 6:22.
Okay,
For
come.
we struggle not against flesh and blood. If
Ephesians
you offend me,
6:22.
I cannot get mad at you because you was only doing the devil's bidding.
Mm, okay. Okay,
You see what I'm
so
saying?
right. Oh yeah, I understand. So
Hmm.
yeah, just how important it is to be able to go solve the situation with the person that you have all aught with, and
Right.
then bring it to closure. And
Hmm.
if there's a way to bring it to closure, bring it to closure between you and God, and
Hmm.
move on, type of thing, so that you
And
can be able.
a lot of times it's a bigger picture playing out. It's a part of your training for success.
Right.
I remember one morning in prayer, I was praying about things that were going on with me. And God gave me such an excellent example. He said, it's like a movie and you're the main character.
Mm,
Everybody else is co-stars. You can't get caught up with them because they're all part of the process.
that's right.
And
Mm,
so when you get caught up, sometimes we look like Whoopi Goldberg playing in Color Purple, where Mr. got more line, but the movie's all about you, Whoopi. Why are
that's
you concerning yourself about Mr. and his line?
right.
So it's you look at life as a stage. You put people in a perspective. It's a movie, and these people are part of my life. Some are forever, some are not. Some are there to teach me a lesson. But you can't get caught up in the flesh and blood. That's what the devil wants you to do, is get caught up in that flesh and blood, then that unforgiveness set in, and you're wondering why nothing is happening for you. The devil is a coward. He hid behind them. He said, got you.
Mm. This is
Got you.
really good. Really
Yes.
good information. I'm actually typing what you're saying, and this is so. Some people are forever, and others are just there to teach you a lesson.
They're
So,
teaching you a lesson.
what's one of the most valuable lessons you've learned from somebody that was just kind of passing by?
Kind of, well, I'll tell you what, last night, when you're in a hotel, you're talking to people, and A lady was here because her father was dying,
Mm.
and never met her in her life. And by the time we got through talking, she was crying and I was crying. And she was telling me it's so hard that her father's dying of cancer. And but he was never there for her. But he married another woman and they have a son, and that son that refused to believe that he was an alcoholic because all that son saw was this.
Was beauty. Right.
And she just said, I can't do this, I can't do this. She told me, she said, the next time you're in Texas, I'll pay you for counseling. But I said, do you remember?
I hear echo.
Okay.
Do you have another device on that? Can you
Yes, it's myself. People are like, okay,
just mute it or something?
yeah. Is that
Okay.
better?
Yes. Yes.
So, so what happened? She was talking about her father grew up in an orphanage and da 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 da. And she told me how he came up,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, "You're working out of pride now." And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "You're saying to yourself, why wasn't I given the father that he is now?"
Mm.
And so when we started really talking about it and what he had went through, I asked her, I said, do you remember when you was a kid and there was that little boy in the neighborhood that when y'all was in the house, he was still outside because nobody cared about him?
Mm-hmm.
His clothes wasn't clean. Mother probably kept him in church all the time. It was a very dysfunctional. I said, guess what? He grew up and you call him daddy. See, what happened is that we look at people at
I think too because Belinda's traveling right now, sometimes it might have a little bit of a glitch, but just be patient with us. I'm going to add her back to the screen once. I'm gonna just tell her to go out and come back in. But it's I'm gonna tell her to go out and come back in because it's like it's frozen or something. So she'll just rejoin us in a second. But one thing that I want you guys to know, you can be typing your questions. You can definitely prepare as she comes back on to be able to ask any questions that you have. If you have any show ideas, make sure that you know that you can email me. You can email me at kim@thebalancedoctor.tv and share your show ideas. If you'd like to be a guest on the Kim Jacobs Show, go ahead and send your information. We automatically need a bio, a photo, and your topic. So if that's something that you would like to be a guest on the Kim Jacobs Show, make sure that you do that as well. And if you want to sponsor an episode of the Kim Jacobs Show, you can do that as well and send your information to kim@thebalancedoctor.tv, and we'll send you all of the pricing to be able to sponsor an episode. Let me go back to my special guest. Hey, Belinda.
hi, I don't the hotel connection is pretty good, but the thing we learned last night is that, and I learned myself, which helps me in forgiveness. You have to understand some people are broken. And she talked about him being an alcoholic. I said that's self-medicated.
Mm-hmm.
And I never forget my daddy used to say, you keep going to the bank trying to take out money that's not there.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're doing is trying to pull a father out of him. And he grew up in an orphanage. That's never been deposited. You're trying to pull a husband out of him that's never been deposited. Why do you keep going to the bank trying to get money you didn't deposit?
Wow.
Why do you keep trying to pull a father out of a man that doesn't know what that looks like?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we started really digging into it, she started crying. And I said, you keep trying to make withdrawals that are not there. And it just kind of balanced everything out.
Mm-hmm.
I said, have you ever made a cake? And she said, I make cakes all the time. I said, what do you do with the eggs? She said, I crack them. I said, what do you do with the shells? She said, I throw them away. I said, why? She said, I don't need them. I said, could it be that God just needed a little bit of your daddy and a little bit of your mother to make this wonderful pound cake called you?
Oh.
See, sometimes we want parents to stay in our life.
Right.
But rejection is sometimes God's protection. Suppose he would have stayed. Would you be who you are now? Sometimes God will bring people in this world and he doesn't trust anybody else to raise them but him. But you go through years of woe is me before you get lined up and saying, okay, God, what is your will for my life?
Hmm.
I have you ever liked a guy in high school? I had a guy in high school. I was just so crazy about him. He didn't know it. I didn't talk about it. I was just like, oh my God, I just want to have his little ashy babies. The whole thing. But he never paid any attention to me.
Hmm.
I went home 10 years later. He's an alcoholic and he has 5 baby mamas. And God whispered in my ear, said, I allowed him to reject you because if he would have accepted you, you'd have been a 6 baby mama.
Hmm.
One of the things we have to realize in this journey, stop trying to be accepted by people God never created to accept you in the beginning.
Wow.
Sometimes we try to be accepted by this person. They were never created to accept you anyway. And see, that sends you into this spiral. I had a interesting conversation 2 weeks ago, and I remember going to all of my friends, and I called them out. They said, "Don't call here no more with this mess." I was like, "Tell me about me. Tell me my faults. I can take it." I had a long conversation with my mother. Tell me about me. And what I learned about myself, I had to accept it. What was consistent.
Right.
I had to accept it, and I had to say, okay, I got to work on that. Because when you realize there's something so much bigger out there for you,
Hmm.
you'd be surprised how all the offenses become so small. You'll be surprised. It's like looking in this laptop. These are the offenses. Behind the laptop is every piece of real estate you wanted to own, every dream you wanted to come true. So when you look at people with that have offended you or done you wrong,
Right.
look behind them because that's where the gold mine's at.
Mm. Mm-mm.
And it's easy to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I won't do it anymore. I'm sorry. Because you know why? Because there's something much bigger. And the devil just used you to do his bidding to make me have a seed of bitterness. And I'm not going to let that.
That is some something is like whenever I start talking, it's like real echoey. I don't know what's happening, but I don't know. I'm not sure. But do you have? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Okay. So
Yes.
we're just gonna go with it.
Yes.
So, good. Because everything that you're saying, that's why I'm sitting totally silent, right?
I'm so
Because I
okay.
know that it's like echo or whatever. But I
Uh-huh.
want to make sure that you get these points out so
Mm-hmm.
that people get a chance to benefit. Because so many people are walking around with disappointment and
Mm-hmm.
bitterness and anger. But it sounds like you have, through the process,
Mm-hmm.
you have learned a way to get rid of it to the point where you can be all that God created you to be.
Exactly. It's the secret to success. I remember an interview with Dr. Bill Winston, very powerful man of God. And Dr. Bill Winston, I had supposed to went to a conference. It was awesome. Corona hit in. I was going to have a chance to interview Bishop Jakes, the lady that created Anti-Am pretzels, and the guy that created Hot Cheetos. And when we talked, he talked about a scripture in the Bible where God said, "What do you see?" He said, "I see trees."
Mhm.
And he said, "Look again," and they were people. He said, "Belinda, we're like trees." And I'm like, okay. He said, "But we have to produce." And I said, well, Dr. Winston, when I think about the fig tree and how the fig tree didn't produce and Jesus cursed it and it died, I said, in other words, I have to justify my existence on this earth.
That's right.
And he said, Belinda, you are a producer. And I'm like, no, wait, wait, wait. He said, no, no, you are a producer. He said, say that every morning you get up. And that's what I've been doing. And, I'm finding doors are opening because I have convinced myself I'm a producer. I have to justify my existence on this earth. I don't want to leave my kids. And, I'm like, God, I will justify my existence. And that's where I have gotten to, is to justify my existence on this earth.
Mhm. I love it. I'm gonna put down your contact information, Belinda Kendall. Tell me your email.
It's M as in Mary, B as in boy, K as in kite, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, D as in David, A as in Alan, L as in Larry, L as in Larry, agency, AGENCY at Gmail. until I give that out a lot of times. M
I
is in
know.
machine, B is in Belinda.
Like you're professional. MK, MB,
M and
MB Kindle agency
agency.
at gmail.com. I'm going to put that in the comment section to everyone so you all will have it. And this is the way that you would get in touch with Belinda Kindle,
Kindle, right.
MB Kindle agency at gmail.com. We have to say it because it goes also on the iHeartRadio where people can't actually see
Oh,
the broadcast.
okay.
So this is
Okay.
perfect. MB Kindle
Agency.
agency
Uh-huh.
at gmail.com. Do you do count like some coaching and things with people?
I do coaching with people, and I think that's such an honor to be asked questions when you're still trying to dig your own stuff out. And, I always say God talks real crazy talk. I want you to counsel her, but Lord, I don't even have it pulled together. I want you to talk to her. And I have found you're it's a blessing to help someone else when you're still in your own mess.
Interesting.
Now that's love. Um, I can help you find an apartment while I have an eviction notice. That's love. That's God. I can help you get in contact with someone that gives you a car as I get on the city bus. That's love. That's how you know God is working in your life.
Well, see, and I've got differing philosophies pertaining to that because some people feel that you should not help other people in that regard when you yourself do not have all that you need to be full and fulfilled before you can start giving of the overflow. So,
You do need to make sure you're stable, but at the same time, how many times that you can help everybody else but yourself?
many times.
I have a good friend of mine that's a Navy SEAL, and he and I talk a lot, and I always hear the God and whatever he's telling me in his
Right.
training. He said, we're the ones that have to go in early and shine the light where the bomb is going to be dropped.
Mhm.
We're the one that has to do this. Sometimes we have Christians and people of faith. You're Navy SEALs.
Mhm.
Your job is to go in, find out all the secrets, how everything works, and bring it back to help others.
Mhm.
So when those times come in my life, I said, okay, I'm a Navy SEAL, just like William. Okay, I'm a SEAL now.
Right.
I'm a SEAL. I'm a SEAL.
Wow, that's really good information. Because a lot of people also are so I think I kind of share both philosophies, even though it sounds like you're double-minded. I don't know how that's possible.
No.
I do believe that no matter what I'm going through, I
Mhm.
believe that God has equipped me to be able to be a blessing to someone else.
All
So
the
I
time.
share that philosophy. But then
Hmm.
I also believe that God would want me to lead by example. And
Hmm.
so how can you lead by example if you don't have those examples completed yet? But what I've found in my life so far is that God allows me to be a better example as I show him that I'm able to help
Hmm.
regardless of my
Hmm.
circumstances. So it's kind of like a merge of the two ideas.
And it's the training. God has got someone that needs to talk to you about a place to keep a roof over their head. And you've got 10,000 things going on in your own life.
Right.
The training is to be able to walk away from your situation, help them, and then go back into your situation. We have to look at everything in life like David, you know, in Psalms, how he was running from Saul. But all of that was training. All of that was training because it caused him to be the greatest king ever. But if you ever get into that, woe is me, what am I going to do? My pastor talks about pride and how it's the root to
Yeah.
all sin. So if you envision pride as a tree, there's a branch called control. There's a branch called selfishness. There's a branch called slander. There's a branch they call controlling, manipulation. Pride is a tree with many branches.
Oh yes.
So you have to make sure that you're staying away from
Do you have any earphones or earbuds anywhere nearby?
that. Just 1 second.
Let me just because I'm gonna try that because my audience is saying that every time I start talking, it's real staticky. So I'm gonna pull. Okay. Okay. So while we grab those headphones, I'm going to just share a couple of more things with you all. The flash round will come up soon, and so make sure you have any questions. Go ahead and post them now because I'll make sure we go through that flash round with my guest here, Belinda Kendall. And also make sure you know that I would love for you to be a part of subscribing to the Kim Jacobs Show. These are helpful topics, great guests that are coming on. Tomorrow, my guest is Silas Farley. Oh my gosh. He's been with the New York City Ballet, great performer. You're going to enjoy yourself so much learning about Silas Farley on tomorrow. And then the end of this week, I actually have another Silas is in his name too, but Dr. Damon Silas will be on, and he's going to be talking about men's mental health. African American men's Mental Health Awareness Month is happening this month in the month of June. So I'm bringing him on to tackle that issue of mental health. And he will be on Friday. On Thursday, I have a musical guest, Mark Riddick, and he will be on. So go ahead and subscribe to the Kim Jacobs Show and turn on your notifications. And that way you'll be alerted when the shows do come on. Let me bring my special guest back in. When I can see her backstage, so I know when she's ready. All right.
Is this better?
Okay.
Is this better?
Let me see. I think somebody that's in the studio audience, you can tell me if it's better or not, because I can see everybody's texting me, but I can't do the phone and interview at the same time. So I think on my end, it sounds better. But no, I can't hear you. When you first came on, you muted. Your phone the thing is muted. Your screen, yeah.
Now.
Yes. Okay. All right. Speaking of which, Belinda, how important is flexibility as you've managed 500 companies? How important is it to be flexible from your perspective?
You have to be prepared for change all the time. You have to be prepared for change. Things can change in a matter of a second. And you have no other choice but to be flexible. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah, you have to be prepared for change. And I think I got that when, being a single mom with 3 kids, nothing was in concrete. Nothing. I mean, your kids could come to you at 11 o'clock at night and be like, the kitchen's on fire. You have to be flexible and prepared for change all the time.
That's very true. So now I can hear you much better, but the microphone is rubbing on the shirt thing down here.
All right, I'm going to be still. Okay.
Because that's now, okay, perfect. I don't know, but it's all good. You're beautiful. That's all that matters. I know that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Now, you also talked about, I really want people that are very heavily into social media, because people are big into social media right now. I know my children, they're like, I got this on Instagram, this on TikTok, blah, blah, blah. And they got all of the tracking systems. I wanted to find out, how did you go about getting these major followers on social media?
Again, it was my daughter Frances telling me, she said, Mommy, you got the attention span of a goldfish. And so a lot of times I see articles and I use my social media as my own scrapbook to go back later and to look at it. Whenever I see anything inspiring, whenever I see anything that's informative, whenever I see anything that I know is going to help someone, I make sure I post that. The best way to build a platform is be a resource of information. I was very surprised when I did a statistic on my LinkedIn. Out of 340,000, I still rank 3rd with most views. But it's all because I post positive things.
You really, I mean, when I look forward to going to your post to click on it, and I'm like, okay, what is she going to tell me about today? Okay, what the twins? Oh, speaking of which, the twin judges, they're going to be on my show.
Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me?
Yes. And that's going to be July 9th. They're going to be coming up. And here I saw them reading your article.
Wow. And it's funny, the Tucker brothers out of Houston, Texas, they're twins and they're millionaires, and they want to teach people how to be millionaires. And he reached out to me and he said, I get up every morning and I go to my LinkedIn page to see what you put up there. And he said, I want to get to know you. So through that communication, there's a guy that is in Texas, Mr. Young, He's like, Belinda, you want to get in media? You want to buy a TV station? Because I found out in my research that Texas is the first or the second in the country that's uncabled, meaning people depend on digital TV. So he has given me an audience where I have a station on Sunday. He said, train on that, and then we'll have a conversation about you buying the whole station. Through the Tucker brothers, I met a gentleman that does a lot of black movies. So we're booking shows and stuff so I can cover my 12 hours, so I can get my feet wet and see how this thing works. And I want you to have a show. We're going to have a conversation about that because I think you're totally awesome. And come to find out, one of the lawyers I met there, he said, I do movies. And he said, I said, do you have any black sitcoms? He said, I have several. And so that's something that's up and coming, is to do it there and then multiply it. I have a guy that is in Florida. He owns 3 TV stations, the whole tower, the whole thing. And we're talking about working with him to buy it. And I'm like, I ain't got that kind of money. But he said, but we'll talk. I could take back some paper. And I'm like, okay. But that's in Miami and that's in Lathan and Key West. And one of them goes into Cuba.
Oh,
So I would love to do a Black Inspiration Network. That's my goal, is a
so
Black Inspiration Network.
I am so impressed. I can't wait to see all these big stuff that's going to happen.
Oh,
And
it's a lot.
please include me in whatever is happening so I can know ground floor what's going
Yes, you got to have a show on that. You got to. You got to, because you're spreading a positive message. And I've known you for years. Like I said, I met you years ago at WGIV. It's people like you that I look for, because one word can change their life. Sharing your experience can change a person's life.
on. That's interesting.
Hmm.
You don't know how important your experience is until you just happen to encounter someone else that tells you how
Hmm.
important your experience is to them.
Exactly.
How do you
Exactly.
know? You just go living life and you're just living life.
Hmm.
Not even
Hmm.
doing anything so called so special. You're just being who God created you to be.
Exactly.
But
I
then,
can, they don't realize it.
hmm,
I can remember when I first got divorced, I'm bouncing checks to get food for my kids. Didn't know nothing about food stamps. Come to find out, everybody around me knew about it, but no one wanted to be transparent because they didn't want you to know that at one time they were on food stamps. You see how much they could have saved me? So a $50 groceries went to 85 because I had to pay the fee. But they silently watch you suffer. So always be willing to tell your story.
and and I'm glad you said that because I can only speak for myself. I can't
Hmm.
speak for anybody else. But
Hmm.
there are so many things in my life that I always look to see who else it can impact if I
Hmm.
say this. If
Hmm.
I say this to someone, or if I
Hmm.
share this portion of my story, which is my
Hmm.
own story, my own voice,
Hmm.
I can share it however I choose.
Hmm.
But the ripple effect of it can have outcomes for other people that
Hmm.
I may not want to be there, share their story. They
Right.
like, who told you to share my story that way? Or whether
Right.
it's a child, whether it's my spouse, whether it's
Hmm.
my father or my mother, or
Hmm.
some other parts of my life, my siblings. It's like, this is my story to tell. How dare
Right.
you go and decide that because you are a part of that story,
Hmm.
that you can go and just share it at your leisure.
Hmm.
So I'm very mindful, probably to a fault, when it comes to how
No,
my story being shared will impact other people's lives. So maybe you can speak to that because that's something
so
I deal with. I don't know if
it's
anybody
like it's like I don't know the metaphor to use here, but what happens a lot of times, some people want to know your story to slander you or to label you. And once that happens, you become like, mm-mm. But you can't let anybody else hold the pen while you're writing your story.
else.
So always make sure you're in control of that pen. They will hear certain things, they will um, be told certain things that are absolutely not true. So it goes back to pride. I have to tell it to somebody else if there's a room of 20,000 people and only 2 people get it. That's what God sent me here for.
What? That's a quote right there. I'm typing that. That's Belinda Kendall's quote says,
Oh, wow.
make sure. Let me put that right there. That is impressive what you're saying. I never thought about it like that. Make
Mhm.
sure you control the pen to your story. That's a quote right there.
Yeah.
That's gonna be everything. Belinda Kendall said, make sure you control the pen
Uh-huh.
to your story. That's
That's right.
really
Because people will try to tell it their way, and just make sure you always have the pen. You know how old people say, you can't tell it, let me tell it? Get it out there.
wow.
I think everybody should write a book. I think everybody should write a book. I really do.
So what are some of the mottos you live by? Because I want to make sure I capture those, and then we're gonna go to a flash round.
Okay. Life and death is in the power of my tongue.
So mottos.
Um, I learned that from my father. My daddy had prostate cancer, and I prayed and I fasted and asked God, to heal his body, and he still died. And I stopped talking to God for 8 months. I'm like,
Hmm.
you're not even real. The scripture said, whatsoever I desire, da 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 da. And I would cook dinner for my husband at that time and my children, and I would go lay on my bed in a fetal position and cry like a little girl. I miss my daddy. And I heard my daddy singing. This is going to blow you away. Now, he had been dead 8 months. I heard him singing, if I can't wake up in the morning, it'll be all right.
Hmm.
If I can't say a word, I'll just wave my hand. My daddy died before the morning. And before he died, he had a stroke, and all he could do was wave his hand.
Hmm.
And God says, see, life and death is in the power of his tongue,
Hmm.
not yours. He spoke and sung his own death.
Hmm.
So I live by life and death is in the power of my tongue. I remember one of the companies I worked for, I had a large portion of South Carolina as my territory. And there was a man, when I went to their house, they had a Confederate flag up. That was the curtains. You know, it was really weird, but I went in anyway. And I was talking to his wife, and I was like, we got to do this to get a 3% increase, da 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 da. And he just kept looking at me like, you ain't scared of me. So he said, what would you do if I called you the N word? I said, well, sir, you can call me a dog, and I'm not going to have puppies. You can call me a cat. I'm not going to meow. So what you call me doesn't matter because life and death is in my tongue.
Hmm.
You see, men will always call you by your sin, but God will always call you by your name.
Hmm.
That's why I love him.
Why? My God. My God.
That's why I love him.
Okay, we're going to go to a flash round, you guys. These life lessons have been incredible already.
Mhm.
So, if you like shows like this, which I'm sure you do because you guys communicate with me frequently and tell me you do,
Mhm.
make sure you subscribe to the Kim Jacobs Show right on YouTube and turn on your notifications. Every time we go live, guess what? You'll be notified. So, make sure you do that. And we are getting ready to go to our flash round and see what some of the comments are.
Okay.
Let's
I'm
see.
just realizing I went to bed this morning at 4 o'clock. My bag's left.
You are fine. Fine. You're a blessing, is what you are. That's for sure. I typed so many comments myself, so I'm trying to find. Okay. Ella Spradley, which is my mom, she said, hey, good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Mother Julia Harper, I don't put her comment up here, but she's a church mother, 80 years old. She's a
Wow.
recipient of, she had a heart transplant of a 16-year-old over 20 years ago. And she watches
Wow.
the Kim Jacobs show every day. So shout out to Julia Harper and
That's
Adele.
right. Mother Harper. Amen.
Yes. Andrea says, Henderson says, we need positive networks. Yes, excited for. She says she's excited for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Let's see. Andrea said, love it. I will keep my pen while writing.
That's right. Don't let nobody else hold it.
So I want to make sure I understand what you're saying on that. What you're
Mhm.
saying is your story is your story.
That's right. Can't let anybody else tell it.
Huh.
People will say, well, I heard Kim did this, this, and this. No, let me tell you what really happened. You always got to stay in control of your story because people will say things about you out of their own insecurities, their own jealousies, their own forms of manipulation. Because you see, what you have to understand when people can no longer control you, they want to control how others see you.
Oh, wow.
I can't tell. You know what? I done told Kim she's a liar. I done told Kim that she crazy. I done told Kim that she's stupid and she dumb and she's still doing that show. I can't control her. So now let me start telling everybody negative things about her because I can't control her anymore. I've done all I could do. Now I got to control how people see her.
Oh my gosh.
Think about it. How it's happened to you many times that you just didn't take note of it.
It happens to me probably all the time because I
Right.
just sit like this and be like, say what you want.
Hmm.
Sticks and stones don't break my bones.
Hmm.
Words will never hurt me. I just
And
keep
you
right to myself.
and you have to get to a point. I was reading a book. I'm trying to think who wrote this. He said never. The guy, I interviewed him. He does a whole teaching on courtrooms of heaven, how you go into the courtroom of heaven and you plead your case. He said the accuser, which is the devil, would be here. He said, but notice the woman that went to the judge in the Bible. She didn't even care about the accuser.
Mm,
Because see, when you defend yourself, then the blood of Jesus can't.
mm.
I had to get to the point. If they said that's what I did it, and I repent and I ask you to forgive me. But the main focus is God, this is what I need. See, it goes back to forgiveness. If she said that, fine, I don't care. God, this is what I need from you.
Wow.
And then always, I have seen it happen. God will vindicate you every time. All you
Wow.
got to do is just sit back.
Well, you are talking good. That's a good statement right there.
Yeah, you just got to sit back.
She is dropping, Stephanie Hart said, you are dropping some great wisdom nuggets.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie.
It's about control, somebody trying to control you. Wow.
Hmm. But that stems from the tree of pride, control. Pride is a form of fear. People that like to control at one point in their life had no control.
Hmm.
So they want to control everything now. People that are selfish at one time in life didn't have enough. That's why they're selfish now.
Hmm. Well,
And
those were,
oh, go
huh?
ahead.
What were you
Go
going to
ahead. I always say I have this lady in my life. I won't call her name because she belongs to me, but she's an older lady, and I call her mother. I have a beautiful mother. She's like 92 years old, and I'm sure she is sitting now in Anson County with the thermostat set on hell. I don't know why she runs that heat, but I have another mother, and she's like a spiritual mother. You always need to find that woman that's older and has a business. If you're a business person, she needs to have a business background. I can call her anytime. I
say?
can go 2, 3 weeks and not talk to her, and I can pick up the phone and she will listen. It's always good to find somebody like that rock that's been through what you've been through, and they're sitting on the outside looking in. So,
Mm.
where a lot of times we like to find girlfriends our age, no, you need to find that woman that is settled and been through what you've been through. There's no jealousy there. There's no, she's not even competing with you. She's just as happy as she can be. Find a woman like that. You got
That's
to find that woman.
that's amazing advice. That's
Hmm.
amazing. And that was the flash round, but oh, people are still commenting. I do want to ask you too, are you still involved in community efforts? My mom
Yes.
said great information that you're sharing. Wow. Stephanie Hart said, okay.
Yes, I still do a lot of things in the community very quietly because I have found my son told me, he said, Mommy, gangsters move in silence. So I still do a lot of things in the community and, where I'm at now, trying to establish a brand. But I've always wanted to be the behind scene person. I always tell people I have the best face for radio. So I've turned down a lot of interviews. I was, when you asked, I had to do it. But I'm still working a lot in the communities. I have a lot of connections with churches. They've just been totally graceful. Yeah. So
Mm.
yes, ma'am, I am.
I put a I put a little comment in there for you because I know that. Read that in the private chat. Just make sure you see it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'm just getting hot in here.
Yeah, right there. You got some beautiful hair.
Yeah, I
Beautiful.
got a receipt for it too. But go ahead.
Okay, okay. Well, it's still beautiful. It's all
Thank you.
good. Oh, you're so funny.
Thank you. No, when you're traveling as much as I am, honey, you just because my hair is naturally and curly, and I'm like, Lord, I can't do that because every morning you get up, it's me and that hair. So
Right.
no.
So you got to do what works for you, huh?
Yes.
Well, anyway, I want to make sure too, everybody, the Kim Jacobs Show, in order for it to continue to just be a show that's on daily,
Mhm.
Monday through Friday, right in the middle of work hours. Hello.
Mhm.
I need to make sure that I need some partners with the Kim Jacobs Show. So make sure you can support in a variety of ways, whether it's through Cash App, PayPal, whatever way you want to support the Kim Jacobs Show to help it remain on the air. I greatly appreciate it. And I appreciate any support that you give, and I do take note and thank you for the support that comes in. So thank you so much for all of you
Amen.
that have already supported. Okay, and so
Amen.
thank you. Okay, any other words of advice? We're getting ready to end soon, even though I hate when the show comes to an end because there's so many things that I still could ask. I guess when I met you there was this faith that you had in God that didn't seem to make sense at times, but you never
Mhm.
gave up. And now look at
Mhm.
where you are now. It's so many
Mhm.
different angles we could go.
Mhm.
What's any closing comments that you'd like to share with people as a final takeaway?
Always forgive and remember, life and death is in the power of your tongue. That's why I kind of take issue with this new thing. I can't breathe. Don't say that. You can breathe. Um, and make sure you're the type of person that makes such a positive impact on a person's life that their story cannot be written without mentioning you.
Oh my gosh. Wait, no, I didn't even type that. What in the world? Wait a minute. You said
You
make
always
sure
forgive.
you make such a positive.
Impact on a person's life that when their story is written, it cannot be written without including you.
Wow. Well, say another point 'cause I'm typing that one too.
Okay. Make sure you do that. Always recognize that children are a gift from God. Sometimes it's hard to balance that. So what I do is involve my children into every business thing I go into. Because if children, the Bible says children are a gift from God. If you don't respect the first gift he gives you, why should he give you anything else?
Right.
Never put anybody before your kids. Never. They
Hmm.
are a gift to you from God.
Wow.
And
I'm typing everything that you're saying. This is always forgive and
mhm,
remember that life and death is in the power of the tongue. Make
mhm,
sure you make such a positive impact on a person's life that when they write their story, it will include you.
mhm. They can't even write it without including you. Because somewhere in your life, in their life, you were the change factor.
Hmm. Well, I can tell you, you are the change factor to a lot of
Oh,
people getting
thank you.
educated and learning so much more that we would have never learned
Mhm,
of these people's stories and their journeys
mhm.
without you sharing it on your social media platforms. So
Thank you.
I'm so grateful, so grateful.
Thank you.
And Belinda Kendall, MB Kendall agency at gmail.com.
Mhm,
Please reach out to her. She is very touchable, I would say,
mhm,
and
mhm,
approachable, and she
mhm.
will respond to you. So make sure you reach out to her.
Thank you
Any
so
final?
much, Ken.
Thank you for being
Nothing.
my guest.
Thank you for even asking me. And I am so honored. And hopefully I can come back in about 90 days and really share what's going on. But thank you. I'm honored that you even asked.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Make sure you know that we do have our Quest Church prayer line. And I tell you that every day, Monday through Friday, and Pastor Jacobs is on praying for people
Mm,
regarding COVID-19. It is not going away yet. It hasn't gone away. So make
nope.
sure you know that people still need prayer. Monday through
Hmm.
Friday, 12 to 12:30. You can hop on the prayer line right after the show And he goes over statistics in the beginning and then goes into a prayer for every kind of situation that's happening. You name it, for in isolation, people are passing away, loved ones are being left here on this earth.
Yes.
998-990-5000, access code 322-083 #, and it's Monday through Friday, 12 to 12. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Episode. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.